Hello friends, in this session I am going to discuss historical regions for conflicts in the Northeast or historical connection of insurgency and other security challenges which we are witnessing in the northeastern part of India. Friends, it's highly sensitive issue. So while you are expressing yourself on any sensitive security issue, you should express with deeper understanding, in-depth understanding, and you need to choose your words very carefully. So let us start the discussion to decode the historical connection of security challenges and conflicts of Northeast. Historical regions for security challenges and conflicts in the Northeast. I would just like you all to have this understanding that the insurgent movements, and other conflicts in northeastern part of India, are partly the result of British colonial policies, and both partly the result of British colonial policies as well as lack of strategic vision and good governance post-independence. Okay. So the insurgent movements and other conflicts which we are seeing in the northeastern part of India can be attributed to some policies when India was under British rule, and when we got independence, then lack of a strategic vision and good governance also is a factor responsible for the insurgency and other violence or conflicts which we are finding in the northeastern part of India. Now you need to understand this, right, with greater depth. See, I would just say that the government's approach towards national integration, state building, democratic consolidation, in northeastern region at the time of independence. So during independence you can say, or at the time of independence, at the time of independence, okay, at the time of independence and post independence, post independence. Okay. So, the approach which was of British government before independence and democratically elected government of India post independence towards national integration, towards state building, towards democratic consolidation has left behind some section of people discontented, dissatisfied, angry, agitated, and actually that has given birth to insurgency and other conflicts. So, the approach which was of the government towards national integration, state building, democratic consolidation at the time of independence and post independence, right, post independence has left behind not all but some section within population, dissatisfied, discontented, angry, some were very angry, agitated, and this actually has resulted in creation of breeding ground for birth and spread, and after the birth a spread of insurgency and other types of other conflicts. Okay. So, the approach which was there, let me just tell you that it took almost 100 years for Britishers to annex this part of India into their territory, and that too in the last phase. Okay, that too in the last phase. Only in 19th century the Britishers started looking towards northeast, and one by one they annexed the present northeastern states in their British rule. They brought these regions even in British rule, and this is a fact that they have ruled this part in a very different way for less, right, for less number of years. Now, what I would just like, when Britishers annexed Assam, they introduced tea gardening, and I told you that tea gardening is a labor intensive as well as capital intensive farming. Now, since it is labor intensive and capital intensive, so they encouraged people to migrate from other parts of India in this region to work as laborers in tea garden, and the rich people to invest money in tea gardening. And this altered the demographic profile of the region and later on given birth to ethnic conflicts and violence. Not only that, I would just like you all to understand this. Only when I will give example, then you will be able to understand. For example, if you see Manipur. Now, as far as Manipur is concerned, at the time of India's independence, Manipur was a constitutional monarchy. What is the meaning of constitutional monarchy? Meaning there was a constitution, but the king of Manipur was the head, and it was decided within the constitution that the head of the kingdom will be hereditary, but the head of the kingdom will govern the kingdom as per the provisions of constitution. So such type of a state is known as constitutional monarchy. So Manipur was annexed in British, right, was annexed in British territory very late. And then it was a constitutional monarchy at the time of India's independence. And it was not willing to join Indian Union. But in 1949, then King Buddha Chandra was asked to sign the Treaty of Accession in 1949. He was even arrested at the time of signing of Treaty of Accession. He was called to Shillong. He was arrested and was asked to sign the Treaty of Accession. But we need to understand that by and large this was the way in which many other princely states were integrated into Indian Union. When you will read the history of India's independence, you will read about this. 565 princely states were there, and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel played a very big role as far as integration of these princely states into Indian Union. Some of them were not willing, so they were convinced, and some to whom India was not able to convince, there was use of force. For example, Hyderabad, Junagadh, very different is the history through which Jammu and Kashmir kingdom became the part of Indian Union. So what I am just trying to tell you, that even Manipur was not willing to join Indian Union, but through the Treaty of Accession, it was integrated into Indian Union. Now, this cannot be considered wrong. But what happened after integration, there was need for healing touch exercise, meaning the central government should have reached out to the people of Manipur and would have told that, see, no problem, bygones are bygone, and this has happened for in the best interest of the people of the region. Now you will have a government at center which will take a special care of this region. We will accelerate the pace of development in this region, and we will protect your distinct culture. We will maintain your identity. This is known as healing touch. So what I am just interested in telling you, that today we cannot question what happened at the time of independence. Even the people of any region in India, they cannot ask to readjust the historical clock. But what can be questioned? That after that, the absence of healing touch exercise, the absence of committed effort of central government to reach out to people and to emotional integration of people. See, political integration can be through political steps and military steps, but thereafter affirmative steps are required for emotional integration. So we have not been able to complete that exercise of emotional integration, which should always follow after the political integration of any region in a larger unit. Okay, so what I am just trying to say, I have another example to give, and then only you can understand that. Let us say Nagaland. Now Nagaland, when it was annexed by Britishers, they started, right, they started fighting for their independence, and the leader who was leading the freedom of Nagaland in the beginning of 20th century, A.Z. Fizo, we will talk about Naga insurgency separately, Angami Japu Fizo, started saying that demand for independence of Nagaland should never be clubbed with demand for independence of India. But Nehru said that this demand for independence of Nagaland separately cannot be given any consideration by Britishers. It is too small territory to be, to remain independent. So what I am just trying to say, no problem. The manner in which it was integrated into Indian Union, and it was not only that the kingdoms and the princely states and the units in Northeast were integrated through a process which left behind some questions, but it was there in other parts of India as well. And today we cannot question why it happened in those days. But what we are saying, the British policies and post-independence, the lack of a strategic vision and good governance is the reason responsible for the insurgency and conflict. But the approach which was of British government before independence and the Indian government post-independence towards national integration, towards state building, towards democratic decentralization, left behind some section of people dissatisfied, discontented, angry, agitated, and this created the breeding ground for birth and spread of insurgency. And I would just like you all to even know this, that post-independence, right, post-independence, the territorial post-independence, two things have happened. Post-independence, two things have happened. Okay, number one, territorial reorganization, territorial reorganization, territorial reorganization. I would just like you all to remember this, that the territorial reorganization of Northeast, right, Northeast was done in such manner, territorial integration of Northeast was done in such manner that ethnic and culture specificities, ethnic and culture specificities right, ethnic and culture specificities got ignored, and particularly during the delineation of state boundaries, right, got ignored, and this has given rise, right, this has given rise to discontentment, and assertion of one's identity. Assertion of one's identity. So I would just post independence, the manner, I hope you are aware that at the time of independence in the northeast there was only one state. And that was in the name of Assam, and today's Arunachal at that time was in the form of NEFA, Northeast Frontier Agency, okay, which was later on given the status of state. Okay, but most of the states of this northeast, they have been carved out at different period of time for creation of separate state. For example, Nagaland was carved out, Manipur was carved out, Meghalaya was carved out for creation of separate state, like that. So at the time of state reorganization, what happened, that ethnic and cultural specificities got ignored, and not only got ignored, but some demands, right, some demands from local people which were very much within the framework of constitution, within framework of Indian constitution, right. So some demands from the local people which were very much within the framework of Indian constitution, either not accepted or if accepted with delay, if accepted but with delay, too much delay was there. So either it has not been accepted. For example, when Armed Forces Special Power Act was enacted in 1958 and most part of the Northeast were brought under APSPA, for many years the people have been demanding withdrawal of APSPA, but it has not been withdrawn. Similarly, for example, people of Manipur demanded that after it was merged with Indian Union, they said that they should have separate statehood within Indian Union. That was accepted, but only after delay. They demanded that Manipuri language should be within the 8th schedule of Indian Constitution. That was accepted, but after too much delay. So I just want you all to have this understanding, and nobody can question what happened at the time of independence. Yes, we need to know, but any country, when it goes through the process of nation building, national integration, state building, democratic consolidation, something can happen which, if looked later, will leave behind unanswered questions. But I am not questioning, because 565 princely states were integrated. Most of them were convinced to join Indian Union. Some of them who denied the request, then they were forcefully integrated into Indian Union. But what is the requirement in such scenario? That any forceful political integration of region must immediately follow with affirmative step in the name of healing touch for emotional integration of the people. Because whenever forcefully a region is integrated politically into a bigger region, that will always leave behind some dissatisfied section of people, some discontented people, some angry and agitated people. And then the government needs to reach out to such people and give them the assurance that, look, bygones are bygones, but now you will have a government which will take a special care. So, absence of healing touch exercise, lack of healing touch exercise, lack of affirmative steps for emotional integration of people, delay in demands, accepting the demands which were very much within the framework of Indian Constitution, are some of the historical factors post-independence which have given birth to insurgency and other form of violence in the northeastern part of India. Even today, we will have to think that what should be our future strategy. And I told you that in democracy, government can be formed with majority, but governance should be through consensus, and the government should make a special committed efforts to reach out to those people who are less in numbers, to fill in their mind that democracy is the best form of government. Democracy is not just game of numbers. So I just want you all to remember this, that at the time of independence, the Britishers' approach towards national integration, post-independence, Government of India approach towards national integration, democratic consolidation, state building, state reorganization, left behind some section of people, and I am very particular, some section of people discontented, dissatisfied, angry, agitated, and thereafter lack of efforts for emotional integration of such people actually created the breeding ground for birth and spread of insurgency in the northeast. So this is what you need to know as far as historical factors responsible for conflicts and insurgency in the northeastern part of India is concerned.